The cameras flashed. The cuffs clicked shut. He stood silent, eyes forward, while the crowd jeered. "Criminal," they yelled. But what the world didn't know was this black man wasn't just a soldier. He was America's deadliest Marine sniper. And when a decorated 4-star general walked into that courtroom and removed his own medals in shame, the truth that shook the nation was finally exposed. Stay with this story, because justice has a name, and it's not what you expect. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this powerful journey of betrayal. On a comeback that silenced everyone. They didn't care about the uniform. They didn't ask questions. They didn't hesitate. It was a rainy Tuesday morning in downtown Atlanta when Staff Sergeant Elijah Kane, a retired black Marine sniper, was tackled, wrestled to the ground in front of his 8-year-old son, and handcuffed by 3 city cops responding to a call about a suspicious man with a gun. The gun was a walking cane. Spine had been shattered by a landmine in Afghanistan. But that didn't matter. All they saw was a tall, built black man with a duffel bag standing outside a courthouse. He hadn't said a word before he was pinned to the pavement. His military ID was thrown aside. His Purple Heart fell from his coat pocket. A crowd gathered, phones filming, and one voice shouted, "Yeah, another thug caught." But Elijah said nothing, not even as the blood trickled from his lip. He had survived Fallujah. He had stared down death 1,000 times. But this humiliation, this betrayal on home soil cut deeper. Because just 3 days ago, he'd been invited here by a defense lawyer to testify on behalf of a young veteran falsely accused of assault. Instead, he became the headline, "Armed Black Man Arrested at Court." What they didn't know was that Elijah Kane was more than a soldier. He was a living legend in classified files, the kind of sniper whispered about in Pentagon halls. And as he sat in a holding cell, cold and bruised, someone in Washington was already watching the footage. Someone with 4 stars on his shoulder and a debt he had never repaid. That someone was General Marshal to the man who owed his life to Elijah Kane. Years earlier, in a blood-soaked desert valley near Kandahar, Sergeant Kane had crawled through shattered rock and sniper fire to reach an ambushed convoy. Among the burning vehicles and fallen Marines was General Tathan, a colonel trapped beneath twisted metal with his legs crushed. Taliban fighters were closing in. Kane had a choice: retreat and live, or move forward and die with his brothers. He moved forward. One bullet at a time, he cleared the ridge, lifted Tate from the wreckage with adrenaline-fueled strength, and carried him 3 miles on foot. They called it madness. Kane called it duty. Tate was airlifted out and rose to command. Kane returned to war after war until his body broke, his mind scarred by ghosts. He left the Marines with honors, but no fanfare, no pension, no help. Just a discharge, a medical file, and silence. Now, back home, a broken system saw him not as a hero, but a threat. The viral footage sparked outrage, and his face, hidden in classified missions, was splashed across every screen. Ex-Marine detained in court incident. They didn't care who he saved. They didn't ask what he sacrificed. But someone remembered. General Tate, now head of U.S. Special Forces Command, saw the video and froze. His chest tightened. This wasn't just injustice, it was personal betrayal. Without Elijah Kane, he wouldn't be alive. He canceled meetings, ignored protocol, and boarded a military jet to Atlanta, not as a commander, but as a man seeking redemption. The courtroom was packed. Protesters held signs outside. "Free our heroes. Veterans deserve justice." The judge entered. Elijah, still in cuffs, stood quietly beside a public defender. The prosecution painted him as aggressive. They claimed he resisted. They ignored his service, his injuries, his cane. They ignored the medals on his jacket. The room buzzed until suddenly it fell dead silent. The heavy wooden doors creaked open. In stepped General Marshal Tate in full-dress uniform, his chest gleaming with stars, medals, and ribbons. The judge blinked. The prosecutor stuttered. The audience gasped. And then Tate did the unthinkable. He walked past the bench, past the lawyers, and stood in front of Elijah. Then, before cameras, before the court, he removed every medal from his chest and placed them on the table. "These," he said, "belong to Sergeant Kane, not me, because I wouldn't be standing if he hadn't crawled through hell for me." The courtroom was frozen. "You dare judge this man?" Tate shouted. "He bled for this nation, and we repay him with handcuffs." He turned to the judge. "Your Honor, if there's justice in this court, release this man immediately and issue an apology, not a verdict." Reporters scrambled. The video went viral in minutes. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Justice for Kane. Hashtag Veteran Shame. Hashtag Hero, not Threat. The judge, overwhelmed, struck down all charges and ordered a full investigation. Elijah was uncuffed. The crowd stood. Some cried. Others saluted. But Elijah, calm as ever, just nodded. He hadn't come for applause. He came for the truth. What? Followed stunned the nation. News anchors ran retrospectives. Who is Elijah Kane? Documentaries revealed his record: 62 confirmed missions, 14 rescues, multiple medals buried by bureaucracy. The Department of Defense issued a public apology. Congress invited him to speak, and General Tate launched a Veterans Protection initiative in his name, the Kane Protocol, ensuring no disabled veteran would be treated as Elijah had. But more than that, the hearts of people changed. Schools invited him to speak. Communities raised funds. His son, once mocked at school, was now proud to say, "My dad's a hero," and Elijah. He returned not to the battlefield, but to the fight that mattered: dignity. He opened a nonprofit helping veterans find homes, jobs, and mental health. Support, he remained humble, never bitter. When asked in an interview what kept him silent in those cold cuffs, he replied, "Because I didn't serve for medals. I served for peace. And sometimes, peace starts with restraint." The final twist came when the president invited him to the White House and pinned on his chest a long-overdue Medal of Honor for heroism, not just in war, but in the war for respect. The same cops who cuffed him, one later joined his foundation, publicly, admitting, "He taught me what a real man looks like." Elijah simply smiled. He had no vengeance, only vision. He had lost his mobility, his anonymity, and his peace. But he gained something else: his voice. And now the world was finally listening.